Hello, this is Barry Bates, and we are back with 30 under their 30s purchasing real estate. I'm here today with Ayana Rowe, and we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about what this journey looks like when you're the age of 30 or under purchasing real estate for the first time, be it an investment property or your primary residence. This is something that's so important, vitally important for our buyers to know today that you don't have to have excuses to not own real estate. Now is the time, it's always a time. Don't hesitate. Connect with me. I can get you with any lenders that you need to connect with, home buying opportunities in terms of any resources for down payment assistance, grants, financing. We've got you all covered here. And just wanted to say hello to Ayana. We've been trying to get together to do this for like 3 years or so. It's been forever. So I'm just absolutely thrilled that you could make it out here today and that we could
Mhm.
like connect the schedules. So tell us a little bit about you and how you stepped into home ownership at such a young age.
All right. Well, I am no longer under 30. I'm 32 now. But when I bought the house, I was 27. I had been living with my parents the 2 years prior to that, just saving up money, getting debts paid down, getting in order, trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life because I was, 2021? So I was 27.
Hmm.
Um, Trying to decide, do I want to stay in Cincinnati? I grew up here. Do I want to move somewhere else? Obviously decided to stay. There was a cute boy involved. Um, so yeah, I came to home ownership that way, just knowing that I wanted to stay here. When I moved out of my parents' house, I didn't want to rent again. So the house that I bought is my primary residence. I've been there since 2021. I hope to stay there for forever. I really like it. Um, yeah, does that answer your question?
That gets us into it. That kind of gets us into it. What was your experience like on the renting side, and how
Renting.
does that compare to owning?
Let's see. So I stayed, let's see, I left my parents' house 18, went to college, went to Xavier for 4 years, and then stayed on campus all 4 of those years. So I never rented in college.
Hmm.
But after I graduated college, I moved in with a friend of mine from church. We got an apartment on Victory Parkway outside of Eden Park.
Yes.
Um, there were three of us at the end. At first, it was supposed to be just two of us. A third person joined on. I don't remember what we were paying, but it was less than $500 a person. It was fantastic to be that close to downtown for less than $500. The year is 2016. It's a whole different world now.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so I lived there, this beautiful apartment with big old windows. I loved it. Um, but right, like you send away at 22 years old or whatever, you send away $500 every month, and $500 is a big number to a 22-year-old. And you're just like, this sucks. So I very quickly realized it sucked real bad. I was working, I think, three jobs at the time to
Wow.
like keep it all in order. Like
Okay.
I remember I moved in July. I think I called my mom in like August or September, like, oh, I made a mistake. I don't need to be here at all. And she's like, it sounds like you need another job. So I did that and started working at this restaurant probably within a few weeks after that. And yeah, when given the opportunity, another mutual friend of ours needed to sublet someplace because
Hmm.
she was living with her sister. Her sister was getting married. She needed to get out of the apartment pretty quick. And I'm like, take my spot. I'm out. I'm going back to my parents' house. So I went back to my parents' house for 3 months.
Okay.
And then one of the jobs I was working at was an internship with the company I'm still with right now.
Hmm.
They offered me a full time position.
Oh,
I am
wow. Okay.
23 years old and think that that means I will start working full time immediately. The month is May. I didn't start working full time till June or August, I think.
Really?
But I moved into the apartment that I got because I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not living with my parents anymore. So I moved into that apartment in June and spent the whole summer going, yeah, I still can't afford this. Um,
Mm.
and fortunately, started working full time. Everything worked out. Really loved that apartment, but still had that same like background thought of like, okay, $500 is a lot to a 23-year-old to send away
Yes.
every month and never see it again. Um, and I think I lived in that apartment about a year. Moved in with another friend. Same price range, same thoughts, and was back at my parents' house again in 2019.
Okay.
because it is expensive to live by yourself.
So this is just we've covered just from 2016 to
Yeah.
2019.
hmm
Just okay.
the apartments I lived in, and the whole time I couldn't afford it. Me
Okay.
and my mom have been talking about this a lot recently. How it's just like, yeah, you leave the nest, and you're like, I'm an adult, I can do stuff, and then you get out there and go, I'm a baby, like I shouldn't be doing anything at all. And yeah, so I lived with my parents, like I said, 2019 to 2021.
Mhm.
Moved out. Once again, could not afford it, but this time it was a house. So I really had to make it work. But been very fortunate to have been able to make it work these last 5 years.
That's cool. And then that was the house that they had bought. Just I think they got theirs in
Yeah,
2018.
they
I want
got
to
theirs
say.
in 2018. So
Yeah.
yeah, they were only there for a year when I moved back in. So it was not the
Nice.
house I grew up in. It was a bigger house, which is the only reason I was able to stay there for 2 years. I don't think I could have gone back to the little house
Oh
as
no,
an adult with my
that
parents.
house was nice. I sold them that house, by the way.
hmm
Mark that. So, what do you think it is that people in their 20s get wrong about their perceptions of home ownership?
It's not even just people in their 20s. I have friends in their 30s still talking to me about buying houses too. But it's the idea of how much money you have to have saved
Hmm.
to buy the house. Because I was talking to a friend, she just turned 30 last year, and she's not where she thought she'd be. And she was like, "Yeah, it's crazy. Like I have all these friends who own homes, and like that means that you had like double digit thousands of dollars saved up, first of all, and then you just spent it never to see it again. Like it's invested in the home obviously, but
Right.
like it's not in your pocket anymore." And she's like, "That's crazy to me. Like I can't imagine like having such a large amount of money at one time to go buy a house." And I told her, I was like, "I bought my house with $7,500. It was all of the money I had saved.
Wow.
And if I could go back again, I would say make sure you're putting down at least 10% of the mortgage,
Okay.
because that's the threshold when the private mortgage insurance drops off when
Ah.
you do the FHA loan.
Mhm.
So aim for 10%, but you don't have to have 20, and you don't have to have $30,000 to do it. I did it with $7,500 in a dream.
And that's cool because I think there are these big myths out there that you have to have 20% down. That was the thing for a long time. And I think a lot of people got knocked off of their heels with that. And I would have conversations with people who had like, tens of thousands saved, 20,000, 25,000, but they thought they had to have more.
hmm
And that's a substantial amount of money. And then when you also look at the lenders who are out here that have different grants that are available, I have one lender who his primary objective is to get people to closing with as little out of pocket as possible. I've even seen times where I had somebody, two people, that got money back at closing,
hmm
or they got their earnest money refunded
hmm
at closing. So there are opportunities out there for people, and we just have to like navigate what those hurdles
Yeah,
are.
especially like first time ownership, like stuff like, because
Hmm.
I don't remember now, it's 5 years ago, but I know that this was the first property I ever bought. It was my primary residence. We used the FHA loan, and I don't remember the qualifications for that, but
Hmm.
like that was hugely how I was able to get into that house so quickly. I didn't even expect to buy it, so yeah, it all worked out.
And another thing with loans too is that you have some thresholds in terms of credit scoring, and they look at your whole credit profile. Where there's some that say they can take FHA loans down to a 580 credit score. I personally haven't worked with anyone in that situation yet. You tend to qualify for like grants and stuff when you hit the 640, 660 kind of range. And then your profile in terms of payment, repayment history, debt to income ratio, things like that are looked at. And those are things the lender will go over with the prospective buyer too at that time. And the other myths too about renting is that I don't have to fix anything. It's my landlord's responsibility to fix it. What do you have to say about that? What's been your experience?
It has been. I think I don't know. I think I got some like gems of apartments like not growing up. I was an adult, but as in my youth, uh, no, because it was my landlord's responsibility to fix it, and they were attentive. I probably had some of the last like owner-owned apartments.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, especially because both apartments were in Walnut Hills, right by Eden Park. One of the landlords was a lawyer. His office was literally two doors down.
Oh,
So I
nice.
was like, "Hey, I need something," and he's right there. Or his property manager was also like in that office, so very attentive there. And then the other apartment, the man who owned it was in his like 60s, 70s, so he was older, and things got away from him more because of age and not because he didn't
Okay.
care. But also, if I hounded him enough, he also paid attention to that. So no, I fortunately got lucky. I have the friends with the horror stories of trying to talk to some like large corporation or like rental company who's just like, oh yeah, we'll do that, and they
Mhm.
never do.
And it's interesting too. I get calls a lot about people who want to rent to own and lease to own, and that's a whole different animal. But I love the heart behind it is that they recognize that there's something important about owning a home. And I was teaching a class at Working in Neighborhoods, and I'll be there again tomorrow morning teaching the class. A group, there was about 20 of us, and the participants were asking questions, and somebody inquired about rent to own. And I said, well, and before I could even answer, two hands shot up in the air. And I said, well, what was your, what would you want to share? Those two individuals took over that topic. I let them run with it. They had firsthand experiences of don't do it, like the caveat emptor moments. Like, don't even. One shared how they had been paying, they had some type of agreement where a certain amount of their payment each month was supposed to go to their towards credit, towards their down payment, to this future purchase 2 or 3 years later. And one day they came home from work and there was a sticker on the door from the sheriff for an eviction because
Oh no.
the property was being foreclosed.
Oh wow.
Could not get the landlord on the phone. Couldn't wasn't hadn't been returning calls anyway, but up to that point and was trying to escalate, get in touch, and just money gone, gone, and couldn't afford to get the legal resources
Mhm.
to pursue that person.
Mhm.
And the other person shared a story very similar. So I'd say that there's a right way and a better way to do it, and it was kind of the steps that you took. You know, you rented, you had a few experiences, and fortunately, you had good landlords. My 25-year-old daughter moved home because her and her roommate, the apartment that they were in, and I was really disappointed because it's one of the larger ones in that area. Horrible with fixing things. We were helping her
Mhm.
move out, and I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna ding you on this." She's like, "Nope, we called that in 4 times, and I've got the dates and everything recorded when we called in Nashville, and they never come out to fix
Mhm.
anything." And so this whole myth of my landlord to fix the roof if it leaks can be kind of precarious. I mean, you got to
Mhm.
really watch yourself. Like, do you want to trust that? Like, do you want to be good on your stuff getting wet and soaked? There were a couple of places in Cincinnati that owned lots of homes.
Mhm.
One in particular I'm thinking of, and then there was another that was an apartment complex over kind of in the Springfield Township, Hartwell area. Both were sued by the city for basically slumlord conditions. So, you had people, and I had a client who was selling her home, and her son had to move back home from that place because they had active sewage leaks,
Mm.
other plumbing related kind of leaks. There was mold. There was all kinds of stuff going on. So I would just tell people like exercise caution when you're making those kind of choices. Seek advice from a real estate professional. If you see it happening to someone else, it can definitely happen to you. So don't take it lightly, but it's so many other benefits with home ownership too. And there's research done on this. You don't have to trust me. You can Google it or AI it. There's health related benefits. From a physical standpoint, there's mental health benefits from it as well. There's so many different downstream things that are good from owning, and like plants.
Yeah, this is like speaking for myself. I know it's helped me a ton. Just have a space that's my own, and like because both the roommates I lived with before, very lovely people, still talk to them,
Hmm.
but they had a very curated version of what the apartment should look like, and so yeah,
I like how you said they're curated.
curated, very very magazine. I mean, my house also looks like a magazine. I can't knock them. It just looks like a different magazine. Um, and so living in those apartments, like I only had like my bedroom to
Hmm.
like decorate as I wanted it to. And I remember, and then obviously I moved back in with my parents, so it's the same thing. I just have like my bedroom to decorate because the rest of the house is their house. So when I moved into my house, it was so funny. It probably took me like a few weeks to put stuff in the living room, in the dining room, and the other like the guest bedroom and stuff because I was just so used to like having my room. Like my room got so busy and so crowded until my mom was like, you know, this whole house is yours. And I was like, oh my God, the whole house is mine. And
Really? I never thought of that
yeah,
part. So just
and
being so used to being contained to
mm-hmm,
a 12 by 10 space, now
literally
you've got,
from dorms onward.
that's
And
incredible. I
so
never
yeah,
thought
to
about that.
have 1,200 square feet to do whatever I wanted with, I went crazy. It was awesome. And that was just the inside of the house. Then, not to mention, the house sits on a corner lot. So, I've got, in addition to like the front and backyard space, I have pretty decent side yard space.
Yes.
And I have like this 5 year plan to get rid of all of the grass, put in a huge garden that completely wraps around the whole house. I love my plants. I
Yes.
love being outside. And so, yeah, that's just something I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't know my space.
Hmm. I love that. It's funny. That's a whole new perspective to share. Being confined to a space, like even in an apartment, like a one bedroom, you've got a bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, and like a living room combo dining room. To going to having all of that plus on one floor.
Yeah, you have one bedroom, you have a kitchen, you have a living room, you say kitchen, living room, dining room, and then upstairs I
Mm-hmm.
had the other bedroom and an office. So
Yes,
I went from like my biggest apartment, I had two rooms I got to work with. This house has what, six?
and a garage,
And a garage.
like your own house street, and a fenced backyard,
Yeah, fenced
a nice
backyard.
sized fenced backyard.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you said you do a lot with. I remember dropping some stuff off over there before, and I was like, "Oh, she's got the plants, got the green thumb."
Yeah.
Is that like kind of peaceful time for you when you're able to just?
Oh, absolutely. My living room is my happiest space. I've got plants in all the windows. One window faces east, the other window faces south, which are both good windows to put plants in. So I have plants all over. I have the little like white string lights around the ceiling. I have I call
Endless white string lights. Is it
it,
endless?
it's not endless. It's like four of them strung together, but it makes a good loop. Uh,
Okay.
I have these three shelves next to the TV that I call like my altars.
Hmm.
The first shelf is dedicated to both my two sisters as well as my mom and her sisters, and it's just stuff that my sisters have given me, pictures of my mom and her sisters, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, then the second shelf there is my grandparents. I have trinkets I got after both my grandparents passed away, as well as my mom's mom who passed away when I was really young, and a friend's grandmother who we only met a couple of times, but she was my Yiga too. So just like the grandparent shelf of this, and then the third shelf, like I said, when I moved out and realized I couldn't do it, I worked in the restaurant industry for a long time and made wonderful connections with so many beautiful souls who
Hmm.
brought me just little gifts and stuff. There's pottery, there's
Cool.
flowers, there's things like that, and so I have this like appreciation shelf pretty much
Okay.
is the top one. And so I look at that, I remind myself of the people who love me that I love, um, and surrounded with my plants and the green space and the soft lighting. Like there's no better place in the world.
That's cool. That is so cool. And you didn't have that kind of life in an apartment because there wasn't the space.
Because I had my room. Although in the one apartment, my room was pretty big. It was bigger than this room. Like that. Like I said, that apartment was great. It was so standout. So I had a huge room that I was able to have, like in addition to like my bed and my dresser and all that stuff. There was like a sitting chair
Hmm.
and another like little. I made it basically a reading nook off to the side. So I had a little bit of that, but it wasn't the same.
Your interest rate, I'm just sitting here kind of reflecting over that. You were in like the threes. I want to say it was
Threes or
four.
fours? I think it might. I might be. like 4.1 or something.
Yeah, so you caught it like, and just so you all know, when we were in the threes, and there were even some, I even had somebody who got a 2.75 rate. Like those days are gone. That was an anomaly in history. When you look at rates over like the 50-year time frame they had going back into the 70s, rates are average around like 7%. So
Mm.
where we're at now, like 6 to 6.25 on average, is actually below the historic averages. So I know when we bought our house in 1996, we were like a 9%.
Okay.
And then we refied about a little less than 10 years later because we wanted to do the basement and renovate our bathrooms upstairs. We refied then and we got down to like around a six.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it went crazy and the threes were like, gotta refi, gotta refi. And refinancing is basically being able to restructure your loan at a lower interest rate. There's some fees involved with it, and you have to talk to your lending professional to see what the best strategy is. If the fees, if you're going to recover that based off of the drop in rate. And so for us, I mean, it was a no brainer. We were going from like a 6.5 or 6.75, something like that, down to a 3.5. I mean, that was easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you build this thing called equity because I know like your home you bought like at the everything was aligned well for you when you bought because from that time to almost 4 years later in Ohio, values appreciated around 42%. And so I've had people who purchased in like 2020 and 2021 who have been able to, who had circumstances come up. Maybe it was health, maybe it was the need to relocate out of town for work, but they were able to sell their homes and have money in their pockets after the sale, after all
Mm-hmm.
expenses were paid. And so the equity is a wonderful thing too,
Mm-hmm.
because I have to redo yours because I haven't done it in a couple of years. I know it's yeah,
The last little like Zillow reading or whatever it was putting me, it waffles between like 210 and 225
yeah, and I
for
can
a
tell
house
you,
that was bought for 150.
yeah, you're probably closer to 250 in the area, just from what I know over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's huge. Then you've paid your mortgage down in that time too. So that whole gap is your equity. And you can use that for whatever. Like I said, we used ours to do some home improvements. We had two kids that were in private school at the same time. That ain't cheap. We've had opportunities to, you can consolidate your debt,
Mm-hmm.
pay off cards, credit cards, auto loans, things of that nature. So it gives people access to so much
Mm-hmm.
that renting you just don't have. And there are people paying 1,200, 1,800 a month for a two-bedroom, one bath. And I don't know, that's a lot of money to give away.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of as you said, it just comes
Yeah.
out your pockets and
Mm-hmm.
never comes back. And at least in the situation you're in and others like you who started so early, I mean, blessing.
Yeah, I was like, I got lucky, grace of God, all that stuff. Like, just the situations completely lined up because I was able. I have a good relationship with my parents, so I was able to go home. I had moved home. I don't know, probably with somewhere in the 15 to 20,000 realm of credit card debt, and was able
Mm,
to pay that all the way off in the time that I stayed with my parents, which was because I knew buying a house, I'm like, I'm not going to have a big down payment, but I can at least get my, what is it, debt to income ratio down.
yes.
Yeah, I can get that down. So that's what I focused on, and that's what I did. Um, and right, bought this house that I thought, I know I told you, I was like, I thought this was going to be like a practice in rejection because we were putting in at asking price.
Hmm.
When you literally told me that the day before you showed a house, someone put an offer in at like 30,000 above
It's
asking price
crazy.
and they
Hmm.
still got outbid. So I was like, no, they're not going to take my asking price offer. And they did. And I was
Yes.
like, Mr. Barry, what's the house I'm buying? Can we go see it again? I don't, they were supposed to say no. But I'm so happy that they didn't.
Yes, and that was so real. Yes, because that was going on. People were 10% over list price to get properties in these bidding wars. It was wild. And we just found the right niche in the right place where, you know, they were ready to sell.
Hmm.
And and that made the difference. That made the difference for sure. looking back on it, what would you, what kind of advice would you give to anyone, to a 27-year-old going out there for the first time?
I mean, first and foremost, get a realtor you trust. We haven't said it yet, but I've known you my whole life. Like you're my dad's best friend, so you've literally been here. You've seen me play with Barbie dolls to buying a house. So
Yes.
maybe you might not have that situation. I hope you do, but if you can't find that, at least find someone that you know has your best interest in mind. I know while we were looking for houses, you offered me suggestions I never thought about, like that attached garage,
Hmm.
because like I said, a boy made me stay. So I was seeing someone, but he wasn't living with me. And so I
Hmm.
was, for all intents and purposes, a single woman buying this house. I'd be coming
Yes.
home late at night from working at the restaurant. Um, and you were like, it is very important that you are able to back your car down into that driveway, close that door, and get into your house without anybody bothering you. And I'm like,
Yes.
I never thought of that.
Yes.
And that's not information that someone would just share with you if they don't care about you. So having someone that you trust every step of the way is so nice. Like I said, try to hit that 10% if you can. I know it's a big number, but that'll knock your private mortgage insurance off
Hmm.
versus like I think I forget now what 7,500 of 150 is. It's less than 10%, and that's what I put down. So I'll have
It's about 5%.
private. Yeah, I'll
Hmm.
have the PMI on my mortgage for the duration of the mortgage I have, and I keep going back and forth. I'm like, do I refinance for a higher interest rate and no PMI, or do I keep the
Yeah.
lower interest rate and get rid of the PMI? And so far, it washes, so I haven't tried it yet.
Hmm.
Um, but so yeah, if you can hit 10%, that would be great. But like, money's hard. It's hard out here.
Hmm.
Don't let it stop you because you can buy a house with 5% down with less than that. Like someone's going to be willing to work with you. Do what you can to get like your credit score up. I think
Yes.
mine was like 690 maybe when I bought the house.
Good.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Believe in yourself. Like it's not as hard as it seems. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of paperwork. I'm a little bit of a numbers nerd, so it was like
Yes.
completely what I like doing. But
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, if you have trustworthy people, it's a really easy process.
And, Ayana got a little bit of a head start because when her parents were looking for a house, her and her sisters would meet at the showings just to hear the stories that I would tell them about their dad when we were growing up. So you kind of had a little bit of like some insider
Mm-hmm.
moves kind of already made in place.
Yeah, I
So,
watched them. I paid attention to what they were doing because I don't. If they bought in 2018, I was 24, so I was already starting to think like, oh, I think
mm,
this is the route that I want to hit. I don't think any friends have bought houses yet, but I think like my first friend bought her house at like 25 or 26, like even
nice.
younger than me. So I was like, oh, I think this is like moves I want to make. What questions do I need to ask? What do I need to be looking for in the house? Check if the water runs and if the water heater is good, like stuff
Hmm.
like that. Just like I don't know, things that you don't think about when you're 20, 24, 25.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just remember telling the look on you and your sister's faces when I told the story about your dad jumping Volkswagen cars when we were in high school. So yes, definitely best friend, and he was my big brother when I went to Walnut. And anybody out there who knows about Walnut Hills High School, as a seventh grader in Effie, you get bullied. It wasn't like a passive aggressive kind of thing. Nah, they just straight up would
Active
like
aggressive.
throw your stuff, your backpack in the garbage can. On a good day, they throw you in the garbage can. It was so much. They give you the wrong directions to the classroom. Never go through the main hallway asking for directions to class. Bad, bad, bad idea. You're better off going up there in the summer and walking to school, walking your schedule yourself because they will mess you up. He was my big brother who had been there, established, I played sports. I got there, people knew who I was, and that made it easier for me. I didn't have to experience all that, and it was that was that was fun. That was so much fun being able to share those stories and stuff. And I don't know if you know, but four of us got together just this past Saturday,
Okay.
and we went down to Southern Grace Eats. Shout out to Southern Grace Eats. I think I shouted them out on the last show. Um,
Sounds like you like it.
3751 Montgomery Road. Yeah, Nikki's the owner. That food is nice. That food is nice. Soul food extraordinaire. Check it out. But we met down there and just, it was really just regeneration of our relationships and growing up. And I missed a lot because I was the youngest one of the group. So we really got to like plug in some holes. I got to kind of find out what they were doing when I was at college and working in retail and everything and back and forth in and out of town and where they were with what they were doing. And I would remember bits and pieces, but not all of it. And so you just have this whole relationship now. When you look at all of us, we all own homes, and just the strength that we have, and when we have to kind of pull back and reset ourselves, we've got that safe space in which to do it, where we run it, we make the rules, and we have the chance to get clarity. And so I think that's something that's real important too. You control more your environment, you contribute to your community.
Hmm.
You're voting, you're active on community councils. You pay attention to how clean your street is, because that can have an impact on your value of your home. Broken down cars, to call, to get those kind of things picked up. And there's so much that you get to see as a homeowner
Hmm.
that normally you wouldn't pay attention to. And for me, growing up in a home all my life, it was just kind of a natural thing. I lived in two apartments. One, they switched to income based housing, and I was working, like I said, as a retail manager, so I made too much. I had to move. The next place I went to, I was dropping, and we're talking back, gosh, in the late '90s, 680, I think my rent was, something
Hmm.
like that, and it was a pretty sizable place. And I was complaining because the place I was at before was like 425.
Hmm.
Like, why I got to pay so much? But it was so much nicer. And that's the rent trap. You get into a place that is nice, and this place was nice. I had a third floor apartment that had a balcony that was covered with a storage room in it. I had a fireplace in my living room. I had like vaulted ceilings. I had like this little catwalk outside of my bedroom where I could overlook the back parking lot. I mean, you know, and the building was newer looking,
Hmm.
and it was around the corner in Forest Park. There's three that are kind of like right near each other. One of my friends that I worked with at the time, his was right across the street. I mean, we thought we had it going on. And I was making good money, so I had a small student loan that I had to pay off. Knocked that out, and was just saving. Had a car, was current on that. I babied my car,
Hmm.
and when got married and home, and it just, the moves you're able to make are just monumental, and just compared to being in that space. And that was a nice apartment. Don't get
Hmm.
me wrong. And I wasn't a rough tenant, so I didn't have to ever call for them to do maintenance on my stuff. I took care of myself because I grew up in a house,
Yeah.
and so I treated it differently.
Yeah.
And I think, and people can speak to this individually for themselves, when you grow up in one environment or the other, you kind of take a different kind of ownership to how you're living, and how to take care of the place. And there's an education piece behind that too that goes into it. There's one program out here called NACA, and they have extensive home buying education pieces to it. Like I said, there's working in neighborhoods, there's a home ownership center. And you get with me, and I can connect you with all those resources for these different places. But, and sometimes you don't have to do that. Like you said, you have to know the trusted real estate expert that can direct you to the resource that's best for you.
Hmm.
Like if I open my phone right now, I have probably 80 different lenders in my phone. I work with about six on a regular basis, because I like to put people with the professionals that are going to best suit their situation. So that's that's the fun part of it.
Hmm.
And when I get to see you out here doing your thing, and it's just, I see you getting to travel and doing stuff, it's like, I helped her. I remember
Oh
her.
yeah, no, it makes all the difference. Going back kind of to that like friendship and that community piece, it's been so good. I don't know if everyone experiences this when they're young, but like from 18 until I bought this house, I didn't live in the same place for more than about a year and a half, just because like
Mm,
I was in the dorms all 4 year of college, so it's like twice a year I'm moving in and out of the dorms,
mhm.
and then after college, like I said, I kept moving out when I wasn't ready, so I had to keep coming back home, tail between my legs, going like, "Mom and Dad, I wasn't
Did
ready."
you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so you were talking big stuff when you got ready when you were going out.
And I had to go, "Ooh, no." Um, and so yeah, so there's a lot of back and forth with the apartments too.
Mhm.
So 27 years old to 32, these 5 years in my house has been the longest I've been put in one place.
Okay.
And that's so comforting. Like I've gotten to know the neighbors on the street. And moving in 2021 was an ordeal. Like we are still, I mean, I'm still wearing my mask because like I told him beforehand, I'm about to meet a newborn and I don't want to get them sick. So I'm trying to stay healthy myself. But
Mhm.
it was COVID time, so like
Yes.
people weren't out, people weren't talking to one another, people weren't hanging out. So it took me just a few years even to meet my neighbors. I live in a neighborhood that's pretty established, lots of older couples,
Mhm.
then some newer families starting to move in as the neighborhood turns over. But I have such good relationships with like all the neighbors who live right around me.
Yes.
I've been gifted with friends moving to the neighborhood.
Mm.
I think I have 4 or 5 friends at whose houses I can just walk to, which is so amazing. And right, we look out for one another. I just had a friend text me earlier this week. She had a plumber coming to the house, and she had to get to work. And she text me and another friend who live right next to her, and she was like, "Can one of you come over? Can you just work from my house for a little bit? Like you don't have to interact with him. You just have to be here."
Yes.
And I had an appointment, but the other friend was like, "Yep, I'll be there in 2 minutes." So to
Mm.
have that kind of relationship, both the existing ones and the new ones, I don't know. There's just a gift in stability that cannot be like overstated. Because I see friends of mine who are still like we're young, like we're trying to get our lives in order.
Mhm.
We are not grown. So to be figuring out who I want to be when I grow up with like the comfort of one place that I know is mine is
Mhm.
just such a gift.
That's kind of cool. I just lost my questions here, but it can go so many places, and a lot of people just think it's out of reach, right? Like everything sounds so daunting to be able to attain that kind of community. It's not impossible. It's something that's very achievable, right? And that's what we've been talking about. You've heard the stories, and everybody's got a story. What's your story? And everybody has an opportunity. I tell people my one of my first clients, that took the longest to buy a house. So I got licensed in 2011, and I was so happy. I was all fired up. I'm this new agent. And I was at the Shell gas station, and I saw this lady. She had a placard on the side of her van. She had a food business or something. And I said, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Barry Bates. I'm a real estate agent. Do you know anyone looking to buy or sell? Because we just that's what your line was when you knew you just like hey, trying to help." And she said, "My daughter has a good job. Has been on her job for a long time, and her daughter she worked at a Fortune 50 company, and she just rents. And I just want her to have a house." And so I started working with her daughter and connecting with her, and like that was 2011. She closed in a home the same year you did, 2020.
Oh my goodness.
9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I say that to say like everybody's journey is different. And I tell clients that they're like, "Oh, my credit score is in the 500s, and I've got this repo on here. I've got this derogatory." You can change. You can recover from that. You can recover from that. That's not the end. That's not the end of your story. Your story is just being written, and that's just where it starts. And you have to take it, I think, and just run with it. And I think people get in that cloud,
Mhm.
that cloud storm, and just think it's just gonna always be storming. And you gotta realize like every storm runs out of rain.
Mhm.
Like every storm runs out of rain, and you've got to be steadfast and determined to outlast your opposition, whatever it is that's pushing against you. You've got to be determined, and through prayer too, to outlast that and to grow into different spaces. And I have one client whose score was, I think she told me she was like in the 540s,
Mhm.
and 12 or 14 months later was in a home,
Mhm.
bought a home. And it was one of the most incredible stories. One of the most incredible stories. She knew it was bad and she wanted to change it. And I tell people everybody's journey is different. Some people meet with me and we kind of get it straight together and get going, like with yours. I've had some people that we meet, they're not quite ready. They work on things, we stay in touch, and they show up 2 years later, they're ready to go.
Yep.
The other one,
And I
9 years, and
yeah.
this,
It takes your time. It's all on your own timeline. 'Cause right, so I bought my house at first house at 27. I'm thinking like my parents, they were probably in their like late 20s, early 30s when they bought their first house. It
hmm
had to have been like the late 90s, probably around
hmm
when you got yours. But then just circumstances in life, like
yes,
I was a child. They rented the house that I grew up in
hmm
for like probably near 20 years. Um, and then that house that you sold them in 2018, that was the
hmm
first time they owned a house again since the one that we moved out of in 2025, or not 2025, 2005. So that happens too. Like
yeah,
sometimes you get the thing, you get the house, but then like life changes. You gotta take the money that you've got and reconfigure, reestablish, and then go out and try again.
yes. And I hear something too sometimes, and people who are facing some kind of like a foreclosure or some situation like that, that just sit and just say, "Hey, I'm just gonna let it go." Homes that have so much equity in them, people during those situations in that kind of time frame in the early 2020s, they were able to sell those homes, satisfy the whatever they owed the bank with fees or whatever, save their credit from getting the hit of a
Mhm.
full on foreclosure, having time to cure their credit,
Mhm.
get back on their feet, and then move forward again.
Yep.
And it's a process, and having that equity built into their home, being able to, as opposed to just giving their house away, saved them.
Yeah. No. Like 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 staying calm and not panicking and being able to look something, like I said, having someone you trust walking with you is a huge difference.
Definitely.
Because I don't know, being the one in charge can be scary. Like I've got all sorts of stuff that I've had to do with my house since I bought it, and I'm like, there's no one else but me here.
Mhm.
But all right, keep a cool head about it. Go talk to the people you know who've already been in your shoes, who've already done it before, and I've made it through. We'll be 5 years here in June.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How old do you think the oldest person is that I've sold a house to?
How old?
Random quiz.
70.
Very good. 71 and 78.
Okay.
The 78-year-old, he had been an investor before, and I think he owned some properties like up in Dayton and then here too, but then bought twice with me, as a matter of fact. So, yes, there's no limit to it. There's no limit to it. I had another lady who we went out looking at homes. This was last year, early in the year, three different times under contract, terminated all three because of inspections. Properties just were bad. And after the third one, I remember I was in Whole Foods shopping and I was on the phone with her. And I said, "So what do you think?" She says, "I just need a house. I can't do a whole bunch of stuff. I, I'm at that age in my life where, and I don't have a lot of people around me to come over and fix this because this is leaking. Come over and this is cracked." She says, like she's talked about her car. She said she buys a new car or leases a new car. It's one of the two. I can't remember which one she does every 2 to 3 years. She says, "I drive it, then it gets a certain amount of mileage, and I turn it in, and I buy a new one."
Mhm.
And she said, and it clicked. I said, "What do you think about new construction?
Mhm.
Would you maybe want to buy like a new house, a new build?" That's what she did.
Mhm.
And and so there's so many problems to solve in this whole thing. Because honestly, like the third house, I think was the worst because it actually literally was sitting on like concrete blocks. When we went to the crawl space, I couldn't believe when the inspector said, "Hey, come check this out." And we went down there, and I look up. I'm like, are those cinder blocks?
Just holding it up.
Cinder block, not just cinder block, but are those cinder blocks with like pieces of plywood that are trying to act as like their shims for the house?
Oh no, a whole house.
Yeah.
'Cause no, my daddy, he used to joke, cause the porch of the house we grew up in, it started falling apart by the time we moved out. He was like, "This is just termites holding hands." Uh,
Termites holding.
it
Okay.
sounds worse. The whole
That's
house.
I'm just envisioning that. That's bad.
No, no, the house. The porch was.
Mm.
But we had, I think it was chipmunks. Something kept tunneling under the porch and was just making it unstable. Fortunately, the house wasn't on cinder blocks, so it didn't affect the house. It just affected the
Porch.
porch.
Okay. Okay. That's that's crazy.
So yeah,
Termites
the
holding.
wood was rotting and the foundation was shifting, so the
This was
porch was in some bad shape.
was not a good look at all. And so, interesting you bring that up, a perfect segue. So, termites. So, when you purchase a home, you'll do like what's called a whole house inspection. And a termite inspection is also one of those. You have options for other types of inspections too. Radon. You can do your roof, electric, plumbing. You can bring specialists in to look at those. You want to be able to check the health of the home and make sure it's good. The home inspection, the whole house, is like a general perspective. Sometimes there may be some concerns where you need to get a second opinion to check on maybe the foundation wall, or where's the water leaking in from, or why are the gutters filled with leaves and water standing in them, those kind of things. We were just at an inspection yesterday, and the gutters were filled with water, and it wasn't draining because it was pulling the gutter kind of away from the house line,
Hmm.
and it was drooping, and so the water was not making it to the drain to the gutter's downspout connection, and so that water's just standing there, and you could see where it's pulling things away. So it was real. Um, Home inspections are good. So I will attend home inspections. I usually get there about an hour or so after they start, kind of get there in the middle and stay till the end. There have been times I'll be able to be there the whole time, but I don't really have any value being in a home inspection. The value I bring kind of beforehand, since we started flipping houses, I don't like to say flip, we renovate and resell, is there's certain things that catch my eye that I'll say, hey, we want to make sure our inspector looks at that. The house we were at yesterday, they were kind of wrapping up. I'm saying, well, there's a shed back in the back. Did you guys see that?
Hmm.
And so they went back there to assess that. And so we're going to have that on our, what was called the defect notice, when we asked for the seller to address it, because it had branches and stuff that had fallen on it. Thank goodness it has a metal roof,
Hmm.
but it had some stuff going on that, is going to have to be looked at as part of that process. So, yep. So the home inspection, that's a whole nother piece too. So we'll talk more about that. Maybe we'll have somebody on that just talks about home inspections one time. That'd be kind of cool.
Right, almost to time.
Look at that. Look at God. Anything additional you'd like to share with us?
No, I don't know. I feel like we covered pretty much everything I was thinking about leading up to this.
This is good. We might have to have you back again. We
Yeah.
talk about more things about the green thumb. I want to hear how that. I love how you have like a plan, like you said, like a 5 year plan
Hmm.
to get out to do some other things, improvements. We had a list, and I use it from time to time in classes that I teach to show people that when you buy a house, everything's not going to be 100% perfect, even if you build new construction. That's about as close as you're going to get to perfect.
Hmm.
You're going to have little projects. And I had a sheet of paper, and it's so funny because the paper was so old and you can see through it. It looks like wax paper almost. But we had things on it that we wanted to knock out over time. And that was my purpose of saving that to show it to
Hmm.
people, is that you just want to knock some of this stuff out over time.
Oh yeah,
You
and
know,
it'll take time. I
Mhm.
bought the house 5 years ago. I still haven't painted the walls. I just ran out of time trying to move my stuff in and out of my parents' house. I really should have taken more time. It
Mhm.
was so nice leaving their house. I should have basked in that instead of going, no, I need to get out of here. Um, so yeah, so the walls are all gray, all that millennial gray, and I hate
Mhm.
it. I'm a very colorful person, and
Okay.
so. the walls still need painted. There's all sorts of stuff. Like I also have a list in the basement of those projects, and there are some that I wrote July of
Yes.
2021 that are
That's
still on
that's
there.
yes.
But I, like I said, I hope to be here for forever, so it'll take time, but I've got time.
Yes, you do. This is awesome. Ayana, this has been such a pleasure. It's so much I have so much joy in this, especially with your situation, how we've been talking about this, talking, and then we finally were able to do it. I'm thrilled.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks for
thrilled.
having me. It's
You're
always good
welcome.
talking to you.
Yes. And that's it for us for today. This is Barry Bates from Coldwell Banker Realty with Ayana. And we hope that this inspires you to really lean into the home purchase and home owning process and the steps. Don't be intimidated about it at all. You don't have to be scared of anything. You don't have to fear because we're not built to be fearful or to be afraid of anything. So get with me, 513-258-8690 and barry.bates at cbws.com. Email. You can hit me up on social. I'm easy to find. I'm very Googleable. That's a word actually, isn't it?
Cool.
Yeah, I'm Googleable. And you can go through AI too, because I have a strong SEO presence as well. Shout out to Addie, who's been helping me work on that too. We can get you together. So connect. And on this one, I'm three, I'm two, I'm one, and I'm out.